All right, so let's go through these couple of slides here. And as we're doing these, our process is a little different when we're looking at SAT questions because, we're not everybody's going to get every question correct all the time. But what we want to do is try and increase our odds. And so just looking at problem 24, just to give us a better chance instead of just guessing 1 out of 4, we have the scatter plot above. Shows the number of registered voters, X, and the number of people who voted, Y, for the districts in town. What is the line of best fit? So the very first thing I look at here is I see that it has a positive slope. And since it has a positive slope, I know that C is not the answer and A is not the answer. So now I got a 50-50 chance of guessing. Not bad. So just by knowing that the slope is positive, and all of you guys can do that. Now, I can't really tell the y-intercept because of the scale here. And so I could just guess one of those two, but slope is rise over run. And it looks like it goes from this point to this point. So it goes up 10 and over from 120 to 140, 20. And so 10 over 20 is 1/2, meaning it has a slope of 1/2. And so B is the answer. All right. And this is the calculator part, right? But I rarely have used the calculator in many of these. In 25, you can do without the calculator, but I'm going to use it because the Inspire calculator, which is allowed, is really nice when it comes to systems. You could, I look at this off the cuff and I say, oh, well, I see that if I multiplied this by 3, then I could do a linear combination and cancel out my y's. But I don't even want to mess with that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my graphing calculator. So here we go. On my graphing calculator, on the Inspire, I could go to menu. And I could go to algebra and solve system of equations. And all I got to do is type it in. So solve my system of equations. This has 2 equations and 2 unknowns. And so the first one was 2.4x minus 1.5y is equal to 0.3. I'm not even going to put the 0 because I'm trying to save time. And 1.6x plus 0.5y is equal to negative 1.3. Hit enter, and there's our answer. So our x is negative 0.5 and our y is negative 1. So I'm just flipping back and forth between my iPad here. The question was, what is the x coordinate? And the x coordinate was negative 0.05. Okay. All right, next one. And this one, hopefully by the end of class, makes perfect sense for you guys, because this is exactly what we're doing today. But Keith modeled the growth over several hundred years of a tree population. I'm not really going to get into reading all of the particulars of it. I can see here that we started with 310 pollen grains, and we had an annual increase of 1%. And the question is saying which of these functions shows that. All right, well, they all have the 310 in it, so that's not really a good clue for me. So it boils down to which one is showing a 1% annual increase. Well, if I'm looking at like these 2 options, I can see that D appears as though it's going to increase, and C, because I'm multiplying by less than 1, is going to decrease. So I'm feeling C is not the answer. A does not look like it's going to increase, because this one certainly looks like it would increase 1. So I boiled it down to B and D. And so the answer is D, because our equation is our initial amount is 310, and we have our original plus 1%. And that's the equation that we came up with. And we're going to do much more of that today. But that answer is D. Any questions on that slide before I go to the next one? All right. Problem number 27, I think we would just solve this regularly. So it did give us 2/3 times 9, right? I could do a little reduction here. That's going to be 6x. And then 2/3 times 6, that's going to be -4. And then -4 again equals 9x minus 6. So I'll get my x's on the left side. I'll get -3x. And I'm moving 8 to the other side. That equals 2. And I do that right? X equals -2/3. I'm feeling like I did it right because this is there, but that is not the answer. So be careful. I did the problem correctly, but they want to know what's 3x minus 2. So don't fall into their trap. That is not the answer. Even though x is -2/3, I now have to do 3 times -2/3 minus 2. And so that answer is -4. All right, last but not least, number 28. I'm trying to match this equation with one of the graphs down below. Here's the first thing I can see. Two of them open down and 2 of them open up. If I FOIL this out, I get x times x is positive x squared. Remember, if the leading coefficient is positive, it has to open upward. So I already know that A and B are not the answers. So now, do I know that this one has a y-intercept at -3? So I'm going to look down here, and my answer should have a y-intercept at -3 and open upward. Well, this one does, and this one does not. And so the answer has to be D. And so I didn't even deal with the K over here, which is kind of supposed to be the hard part. I could know nothing about that and still get the answer correct. All right, any questions on those, guys?
Wait, how'd you get the last one again?
Yeah, first I determined whether it was opening upward or downward based on the leading coefficient. So if we FOIL this out, I would get x times x is positive x squared. And then I would get some stuff after that. But the key is that it's positive. And if it's positive, it opens upward. So that means that eliminates this guy and eliminates this guy. Okay. And I know that because the leading coefficient was positive. So then the second thing I looked at was if x plus 3 is a factor, that means it has to have -3 as an x-intercept. So I looked down at my 2 remaining options and I looked and saw this one has a -3 x-intercept and this one is at -2. So that's not the answer. So the answer has to be D.